And welcome back to another episode of the Kelly's Astrology podcast. Today, I'm going to take a look at the week starting September 14, and it is eclipse season. So, the first eclipse in this eclipse season will be a lunar or full moon eclipse in Pisces. That's going to arrive on Tuesday, the 17th, or Wednesday, the 18th of September, depending on whereabouts you are in the world. So, in today's show, I'm going to talk you through a number of the astrological themes and then the corresponding energy or experiences of this particular Pisces eclipse. I also want to squeeze in a mention about my favorite aspect for the entire month of September. That aspect is Venus trine Jupiter, and that's arriving this middle weekend of September on September 15. Before I do, though, I want to make sure that you know that you can save on your astrology studies right now. Students are getting ready to start their 18-month training in my astrology program. And to celebrate the new cohort of students coming into the program, I have a special bundle price, which is available only until September 15. So, inside my astrology training program, there is a lot of support to help you learn, understand, and most importantly, apply the astrological material. So, you can join this program if you're a beginner. You can join this program if you are self taught or if you've been dabbling in astrology for a number of years. And what you want is to deepen your understanding of astrology in a structured and supported way. Classes begin at the very beginning with fundamentals, and so you'll learn all about things like signs, planets, and houses. Then we move into more intermediate material where you'll be working with aspects and moon phases and fixed stars and planetary strength. Then we take you through all the fun stuff, the predictive astrology techniques of transits and progressions. Finally, you round out your training about a year from now, looking at specialized courses in career and relationships, as well as taking a look at tips to help you talk about challenging placements in a chart. The goal of this program is to give you all the skills you need to share astrology with others in an effective, healing, and helpful way. So, if you are ready to go further with your understanding of astrology, if you would like to be in a program with like minded people where you're also getting support, personal feedback, you've got homework activities each week, if you want to build your confidence in learning and using astrology, I hope to see you inside the training program. This is the best price that we offer on the full training program, and it is only offered once a year. So sign up before midnight on September 15 to save. If you've got any questions about the program, you are most welcome to reach out to the support team. Their email address is help@kellysastrology.com. But if you're ready to register, just pop over to my website, kellysastrology.com, and you'll be able to sign up right from the homepage. All right, team. Okay, so let's get back to this week's astrology. First up, I mentioned is that absolutely golden, totally sparkling aspect between Venus in Libra and Jupiter in Gemini. This is a trine aspect, which is our best or most helpful kind of aspect. And really, this aspect with Venus trine Jupiter is one of the best kinds of aspects that are possible in astrology. We've got that golden trine angle between the two helpful or benefic planets. So, this kind of bodes well for all kinds of good, uplifting, and inspiring events and experiences for this weekend, September 15, but also you'll probably be feeling it on the 14th as well. Venus is in wonderful sign condition, being at home or technically in rulership in Libra. So there's lots of support for improvements to do with all kinds of Venus things. Think about enjoyment and pleasure. So this is a weekend that encourages you to enjoy yourself, to opt for pleasurable experiences, or to see people that you genuinely enjoy being with. Other Venus things that can be improved under this aspect all kinds of relationships, romantic relationships, friendships, family relationships. This aspect is also really enhancing and helpful for women who are ruled by Venus or symbolized by Venus, and also for Libra things like equality and fairness and justice. So, especially as we're talking about equity or topics that relate to women, maybe particularly, this is a helpful aspect that indicates improvements and advancements are possible. Venus trine Jupiter can point to hope and it can highlight upbeat feelings like happiness, joy, and contentment. It doesn't necessarily mean your life changes in a major way, but it can show that you feel a lot of gratitude for the people in your life or for the good things that you do have. You might be swept up in a very generous kind of space and want to provide support or encouragement to your loved ones or to the people that you treasure around you. A supportive trine aspect like this can indicate alliances, so the forming of agreements. It can also like pull people together with, that want to collaborate around a shared vision or a shared goal. So, the idea with Venus trine Jupiter is bonding with people we care about, forming agreements and alliances that maybe have a peaceful or a peacemaking quality to them. And these kinds of aspects can also just really generally help you enjoy the good life with people whose company you find uplifting. Venus trine Jupiter across two air signs can bode well for communication and connection. So, being able to talk through relationship stuff, but in a really respectful, kind way where you can come to a better place at the end of the conversation than where you were when you started. Venus trine Jupiter aspects are also great for the arts and creative or cultural events, especially in air signs where we've got groups of people coming together. Even though this golden Venus trine Jupiter aspect is going to peak on Sunday, September 15, you'll probably be tuning into and feeling its helpful influences all day Saturday and on Saturday night as well. In fact, you might even have been noticing some of these improvement energy or these enjoyment energies or these fairness and justice themes. You might have been seeing them in the week leading up to September 15 as well. This is definitely an aspect of improvements, of peacemaking, and of finding harmony, settling a disagreement, moving into a more meaningful collaborative space with, people or groups that you're in conversation with. I would love to hear what you have planned this middle weekend of September. Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear how this sweet and affectionate Venus trine Jupiter aspect is showing up for you. Are you feeling grateful for something? Are you treating yourself to something? Do you have a special event planned? Tell me more in the comments below. All right, team, let's now turn our attention to the main event this week, at least astrologically, and that is the lunar eclipse in Pisces. So, this lunar eclipse, so it's a full moon eclipse. That's how we know it's a lunar eclipse. It is happening at 25 degrees of Pisces. It will be on Tuesday if you're in the US and Canada. If you're in the UK, Europe, or Australia, this lunar eclipse will have its full effect on Wednesday, the 18th. This is a super emotional eclipse. It's in a water sign, Pisces, where we have big feelings, and it's very close to the planet Neptune, which is very intuitive. It's very soulful. It really, like a sponge, soaks in the feeling or the mood of the space around us. The moon is coming off an interaction with both Saturn and Jupiter as it heads into the eclipse. And you might recall Jupiter and Saturn formed this very dynamic square aspect back in August. And that had a lot of themes about major restructuring and clarifying long term goals. So some of those themes from August might be up for you under this eclipse as well, as the moon kind of reactivates that pattern. If so, take some time to imagine your dream life, to get into a place of fantasy or daydreaming. Even if making your dream life making it happen might be some time away, it is still good to spend time in that place of the imagination, especially under an eclipse like this. So technically, when we look at the chart of the eclipse, the moon is between aspects with Jupiter and Neptune. So the separating aspect that the moon is making heading into this eclipse is a square to Jupiter in Gemini. And then the moon makes the eclipse and then moves into the conjunction with Neptune. So the moon is between Jupiter and Neptune. And this can create an incredibly expansive, big, and boundless quality. Jupiter and Neptune together have no limits. There's no restraints, there's no boundaries, there's no containment. So that can mean that you might feel a bit overwhelmed. You might be flooded with feeling or inspiration. You might be super sensitive. You might find that you just can't handle as much as you normally can. Maybe you can't handle as many responsibilities or deadlines as usual. Maybe real life is just a little too much because there's more of a tender, sensitive, or even vulnerable quality that you may be tapping into under this eclipse. Now, the eclipse energy is around for a number of hours. So it's not as though you have to change your whole life, but you might need to be a little more gentle with yourself on Tuesday or Wednesday as this eclipse energy comes into its fullness. I want to point out too that it's important to remember that the moon has no light at the eclipse. So when we're talking about a lack of light in astrology, we're talking about exploring shadows and how comfortable we are when things are kind of dark. Now, in the darkness, are we kind of just getting quiet and still? Are we still trying to do what we normally do? And that's the key here, is that an eclipse does represent a break or a change in the usual pattern. And so we want to be open to our regular routine or schedule being interrupted at some point this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, most likely. And with the moon not having any light, light is associated with seeing, with sight, and with clarity. So if we don't have light at this eclipse, it's less about what you know and what you can see, and it's more about what you sense or what you feel, what you're kind of intuiting or picking up on. It is shadowy and you may not have clarity. That's okay. If we don't have a lot of clarity or we're playing in that kind of shadowy liminal space, we may want to move slowly and we may want to be with what we're sensing rather than trying to make a lot of decisions. Even in the sign of Pisces, we know that we are far from the realm of fact and detail. Instead, you might find yourself immersed in this feeling, intuitive, kind of inspired place. You might be reminiscing about the past. You might be fantasizing about the future. You might be swept up in like this fairy tale dream, or you might be worrying about the worst case scenario. So, that idea of daydreaming and dreaming and imagining, things are kind of shadowy and uncertain and unclear. And we're just playing in that territory of what is that fear that we have? What is that dream that we have? Sometimes we get kind of these little inklings from the unconscious. And even though they may not be a truth thing or a factual thing in the world, they're important to be aware of what is swirling around inside us. So tuning into that is something we can do under this lunar eclipse in Pisces. You might also find that you're a little bit forgetful, or that you're late or delayed, or that you need extra rest, or even a slower pace under this lunar eclipse in Pisces. This is not a productive or action-oriented eclipse. Instead, that idea of healing and feeling, of recuperation, restorative practices, that might be what to emphasize under this eclipse, or what to emphasize, I should say. So this eclipse is in Pisces, and that means that the ruler of the eclipse is Jupiter. So at the time of this eclipse, Jupiter is going to be in Gemini, and Jupiter in Gemini is super curious, but it does have a little bit of a scattered, maybe inconsistent quality. And so you might feel that there is a lot of like flux. There is a lot of back and forward. You might feel a little bit frazzled because of that like hyper curiosity of Jupiter in Gemini. You might be juggling a lot of things all at once. You might have a million ideas, but realize that your body just can't keep up with how fast your mind is going. This isn't necessarily like bad or negative. It's just describing the quality of energy. Do you like juggling a lot of things at once? Then you might like this vibe. If you prefer a more measured, steady quality of energy, then you might feel like you're having to move faster than you're comfortable with. It's important to point out too, I think, that there's a lot of mutable energy around this eclipse. Our four mutable signs are Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. And two of them are super important in this eclipse because we have the eclipse in Pisces and the ruler of the eclipse is in Gemini. Now, mutable signs like movement and change. They kind of gravitate towards situations that are in flux or have that kind of changeable quality. Mutable signs are up for anything, and they really are totally okay with changing direction in the middle of a process. You might take a detour or explore a side path that proves to be interesting or nourishing or healing. So you might get distracted away from whatever your main priority or your regular thing is, but that detour may have some value, even if it doesn't speak to getting things done. Because it is a very emotional, very tender full moon or lunar eclipse, you might find that making peace with the past is important. You might find that just letting go and letting things flow is a part of how you make your way through this lunar eclipse. There is going to be a lot of feelings to kind of check in with, come to understand. It's like the wisdom of emotion is coming forward in this eclipse. Some of us are really comfortable hanging out with our feelings. Some of us don't like it at all. So I'd encourage you, wherever you are in relation to your emotional self, to see if you can get a little bit closer to it under this eclipse. Now, another little technical note, Jupiter is in the fourth position relative to this eclipse in Pisces, and that can activate fourth house themes like housing and home. Where am I living? Who am I living with? What's going on in my home environment? And it can also draw your attention to family, family dynamics, family lineage, family history. So they may be some topics that could be active for you under this eclipse as well. Now, this eclipse is our first eclipse in Pisces. And so this eclipse actually kicks off a new eclipse cycle that is going to take us over the next couple of years until the latter part of 2026. What that tells us is that the eclipses that we've been having in Aries and Libra, that cycle is starting to wind down. In fact, in early October, we're going to have the last eclipse in Libra in our current cycle. And so when we get to that solar eclipse in Libra in October, I'll do another episode on that. But it also means that the eclipse sequence in Libra, which started in October 23, is ending in October of 2024. So the eclipses in Libra are south node eclipses, and that might mean that over the few weeks in October, you're bringing to a conclusion a pattern of change or release that began in October of 23. That is mostly a conversation for another time, but I just wanted to give you that piece of info. As we head into 2025, in March of 25, we're going to have our last eclipse in Aries in this current cycle. So that's going to bring to an end the cycle of eclipses in Aries that began back in April of 2023. So the Aries Libra eclipses, we've been having them for a number of months already, and they're starting to wind down. And this is our first eclipse happening in the zodiac sign of Pisces. So you want to start to get to know the topics of the Pisces part of your chart. Your Pisces house could be third house of siblings, could be fifth house of children and creativity, could be 10th house of career. And to just kind of flag with yourself mentally that over the next couple of years, there are going to be a series of eclipses in Pisces that will stir up and create some sort of churning energy around the Pisces part of your chart. So this eclipse in Pisces is really ushering in a new pattern of eclipses. So we've got that kind of tone here as well. And we will have eclipses in Pisces off and on until August of 2026. So September of 2024 to August of 2026 is our pathway for eclipses in Pisces in this particular cycle. As we head into 2025, we are also going to see eclipses starting to happen in the sign of Virgo, but that's a conversation that we'll have next year. A quick technical point here is that the eclipses loosely follow the path of the transiting north and south node. Currently, the north node is in Aries and the south node is in Libra. And over, the last 18 months or so, almost 2 years, we've been having eclipses mostly in the signs of Aries and Libra. In January of 2025, the nodes are going to move into Pisces and Virgo. And that's part of why we're starting to see that shift of eclipses coming in to Pisces and Virgo. And that's a big theme we'll be talking about in 2025. So if we come back to the energy of this week, the week starting September 14, we do have a lunar eclipse. Now, eclipses are always about pattern breaking. They have that disruption or interruption quality. So things that are normally regular and consistent in our lives change. They often change temporarily, but sometimes, when we change a pattern or a habit, then we question whether we want to come back to that habit in exactly the same way, or whether we want to tweak, upgrade, or improve it. That means that eclipses can sometimes feel like an unsettled period where things that we normally rely on aren't as available or aren't as consistent as they normally are. It might mean that you're feeling like you want to break away with something that's familiar. You might have to adapt to changing circumstances, even when you'd like things to stay the same. So, we just want to make sure we know that eclipses bring that churning energy of the nodes really forward into everyday life, and things aren't always as they typically are. Under this big and full of feeling lunar eclipse in Pisces, taking time to be with your feelings may be the most insightful and healing thing that you can do. As the light of the moon is temporarily blocked, you might intuit insights that you just hadn't been aware of. That means things like quiet reflection, a slower pace, and experiences that support both healing and feeling may be the best thing that you can choose this week. I'm sending you all so much love and support for this very emotional lunar eclipse week. If you're ready to deepen your understanding of astrology, I hope to see you in class. Sign up before September 15 to save with that special bundle offer. If you want to let me know how this eclipse is showing up for you, please share your experiences in the comments below. Take care, everyone. I will be back to share more again next week. Until then, bye for now.